G'day guys, welcome back to BMW. Today we're going to be doing the rocker cover and vacuum pump on this E90 4-cylinder. If you need to know how to take off the micro housing, check the link below. Start with taking this oil filler cap off. Just work a flathead in between the plastic. There should be a little arrow when you open it up on the little plastic section there. Just work a flathead very carefully, don't break it. And just flick one of the four sides up and you should be able to take the whole thing off. Putting it back on, you just put the whole thing back sort of closed and just turn it and it'll sort of click in. Next we'll be taking out this strut brace. They're Torx bits. Alright, you only have to take this side out really. Smaller Torx bits on the outside. I forget what the sizes are. It's like E14 and E18 in the middle. The middle's a bigger one anyway. And you got to pull up a cover off that middle one. Some of them, in the one with the line vertically in the cover, those turn 45 degrees and then pull out. If you don't have a line in it, you just pull them straight out, just with a little pry bar or something. You can see that the way that strut brace goes in there, you don't have to take the screw all the way out. You just have to undo it, loosen it a bit. It's actually quite tight, so you might need something bigger than the ratchet I used. And then just pull it out, and it'll go back in under the washer. Alright, I took the cover off. That's a simple matter of pulling it off. Top cover of the rocker cover there. I'm taking the breather hose off there. That's two little squeezy tabs either side of it. On the back right hand corner there. Alright, I'm going to take all the coils out. If you need to have a closer look at the coils, check out the link below. Coil video I made up. I like to keep these coils in order as well. Just use a prying tool, you pry the plug up. Once you get the plug up and you disconnect the electrical plug, you can also pry off the rocker cover and just, it's like a little rubber bit you suck out. Alright, plugs off the VVT motor there, and that whole wiring loom all for the coils and that is just held by a couple of little plastic arms. You'll see them in there, just sort of lever it up. It doesn't take too much to take it off. And that wiring, you can see back there that I've pulled that out. It goes through right next to the firewall, through a little bit of the rocker cover there. Alright, there's another plug just near the filler cap there. Need a pick to get the, what would you call that? Get a little pick to pull one side of it out. Take a close look at it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Alright, these two things I'm undoing here are earth straps in the same wiring loom as the coils. There's one either side of that VVT motor. Alright, they're just little 8mm from memory. Now what I did also with this wiring is I took two 10mm out of the front of the engine. That wiring goes all the way down to the Vanos solenoids and the couple of different plugs down the bottom there. I took two 10mm out of the front. I mean, whatever you can do to get that out of the road is it's up to you how you do it. You just really need that getting out of the road. Also, you can see near the cap for the washer bottle fill neck, there's the red cap for the jump start, the positive jump start bit. There's two battery cables that sort of go on a cover just behind that little black cover. You might also want to undo those, because I didn't, and yeah, fair enough, I got the rocker cover off alright, but getting it back on was the problem. It was just all in the road. So that's a 10mm and a 13mm on those two battery cables, and you just take that whole section that was attached to the microfilter and just fold it up over on the other side of the engine, so towards the intake, and get it out of the road. Also, what I'm doing here is just taking off the cover that's on the intake manifold. Alright, that's just a bit in the way of the rocker cover, so get that out of the road. You can see this is the way I got the wiring out of the road. You could push it down towards the exhaust manifold, I suppose, if it's not boiling hot. You know, it's a good job not to do when the engine's boiling hot. Just let it cool down before you do anything. And I just managed to fold it up over past the injector rail, and it sort of sat there, so it doesn't get in my road. Alright, I'm going to start undoing these rocket cover bolts. They're 10 mils. What I do is loosen them off with my 3/8 ratchet, and then I go along and use my Bosch IXO and I drill them all out. If you're being pedantic, you could say that the way to undo these is from the outside in, just like head bolts, you know, just to save any distortion. But to tell you the truth, they're not really held down that tight. You know, it's not the same as a head, to be honest. But if you, whatever way you want to do it, feel free to do that way. Alright, I got all the bolts out there, and I've started levering up the rocket cover with a big flathead. I'm levering off the injector rail, and underneath that little breather connector on the back right hand corner. If I get my head out of the road, you might see. Alright, rocket cover's up. The hardest bit to get is sort of the back of it there. And as I was pulling it up, the two outside spark plug hole sort of tubes fell out and fell onto the sort of exhaust manifold area. I just picked them up, dusted them off and put them back in, but maybe if you're taking it off, you could just push them down and take, there's two O-rings, one on the rocker cover side and one on the sort of spark plug side. If you push them down, you might be able to stop yourself from pulling them out, but either way. I took the rocker cover off there, the rocker cover gasket. Now here we can see the vacuum pump. This is at the back of the engine, right next to the firewall. For Australian cars, it's right in front of the driver, basically. I'm going to take out this hose clamp that goes to the main vacuum hose. You can see the spark plug tube there towards the right of the screen, the black tube there. I'll chuck that back in. Alright, got the hose off. You'll need to replace that hose clamp because they're one use only ones, those. Now, to be honest, the easiest way to get these off is actually to take the two 10mm nuts off and remove what looks like the camshaft bearing cap, but it doesn't have anything to do with the camshaft. It just holds the vacuum pump in there. But for some reason I didn't do that this time. I just took the pump out and just sort of jiggled it out. You can see the way it locks into the camshaft there. It's just like a little plate that locates in the camshaft. Doesn't matter which way that goes. Doesn't matter at all. Either way is good. That's really non-consequential. Alright, that's the old one there. You can see what I've done is taken out 3 10mm. That's the way to get this vacuum pump off. Don't worry about those Torx bits. It's 3 10mm that are recessed. You can see they're slightly recessed from the face of the unit. They're a bit tricky, but a 1/4" ratchet and a 10mm socket will do it. I didn't have much. I mean, people have had problems with these in my shop, but I didn't seem to have much of an issue with them. Alright, here we are. I've taken that bearing cap-esque component off and I've cleaned it up. Alright, before you chuck it on, obviously clean it up and make sure it looks all nice and shining pretty. And what we're going to use here, what BMW recommends, is Loctite for some reason. Don't ask me why. Loctite 574, you can see there. Chuck it down, not on the threads of the thing, but on the face. You can see where I'm putting it there, the mating surface of those two components. Alright. Don't be too liberal, because you know, just enough to be able to wipe off some excess and reinstall that sort of bearing cap looking thing. 2 10mm. Like I said, it'd probably be easier to put the vacuum pump in before you put this on, but it's a benefit of hindsight, I suppose. while you're here, you can also take a good look at your engine. If you just bought it, you know, you can see how well it's been serviced by just sort of inspecting the components underneath the rocker cover, checking out sort of, you know, how much soot and black rubbish is in there. This one looks quite good. It's sort of golden coloured. That's the sort of colour you want. Nice and golden, not too blackened, not too roughed up, dirty looking. Alright, you can see I tightened that down. I'm just wiping the excess of the Loctite off. Kind of funny Loctite. This comes in this sort of funny sort of accordion type squeezy tube, but whatever floats your boat, that's the way to do it. Okay, that's the new unit. You can see on the outside of the black O-ring seal, I've put a thing of a bead of the gasket sealant that we use, and on the bottom side of the engine, on the corners, you can see here. All right, on all bits where it basically changes direction for the gasket, you've got to be quite liberal with this stuff. And inside the hole where that plug goes, all right, the seal where the plug goes, put a bit in there. All right, be very liberal with it, guys. Even on the rocker cover, before I put the gasket in, you know, chuck a bit in them corners as well. Get stuck right into it. These are notorious for leaking, these engines, so don't be stingy with your stuff. All right, new hose clamp on that vacuum line, worm drive one, so it's reusable now, but probably won't have to take it off ever again anyway. All right, gasket's back in. Now, I didn't actually film this, but you can see the way my hands are moving. That's the way I put it on. I had the spark plug tubes installed, and the hardest bit was, as you can see, on the firewall side, getting it on. It was just a real mongrel, and I was cursing and swearing and carrying on, but I ended up getting it on. Alright, and get all that stuff on before your gasket sealant leaks. Alright, the stuff we use for gasket sealant is called Dry Bond. D-R-E-I-B-O-N-D. BMW can supply it if you can't find any other mobs who'll give it to you. I'm just putting the rocker cover bolts back on. You can see I've taken those two battery cables off and just got them out of the road. Like I said, getting the rocker cover off was alright, but getting it on is one of the worst jobs. Alright. Go along and tighten up the rocker cover bolts. Like I said, you know, if you want to work from when you're tightening from the center outwards, more power to you. Personal preference as far as I'm concerned. Alright, tighten them all up. Chuck the battery cables back on. And basically there, guys, put all the plugs back in. Don't forget your breather hose, back corner. Your electrical plug near the oil filler cap. Your coils, or your coil wiring. If you took the two 10mm off the front of the engine like I did, put those back on. Alright, plug it all back in, push it all back into position. You're basically done. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you have any other questions, leave them in the section below. And I'll catch you next time on BMW.